Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah and today we're going to be talking about every single book I read in the month of June. If you've been here before, you know that I like to start these videos out with just going through a couple of my stats from the Storygraph, which is one of the book tracking apps that I use. Storygraph in particular, I love because one, they are Black woman-owned business, but also because I feel like they really listen to their readers and I really love the beautiful graphs that they put out. I am a huge data visualization person, like I love a chart, and so having all of that available in Storygraph is a really big pull for me to use it. Candidly, I use a lot of book tracking apps. I'm looking to go down to like my one or two favorites, which I think I'm always just gonna be on Goodreads. Like I think that's just kind of part of it. I don't love them. I don't think it's the best app. I've just been there the longest, so I like all of the data that it contains. And I think the two that I use currently that are gonna go away are probably Pagebound and Fable, particularly Fable, just because I don't find Fable super intuitive, honestly, and Pagebound just because I feel like it can do so much more than I'm using it for, but because I'm not using it, why am I updating it all the time? But my very favorite book tracking app is Margins. Got off on a tangent. Anyway, we're gonna start with my stats. You will see this as we discuss, but I think I'm in a bit of a reading slump, and I don't think it's because I'm not reading, because I am. We'll kind of dissect that a little bit, do some bookish therapy. So let's jump into this. First off, for moods. So I read 19 books in the month of May. This is significantly lower than I have been reading. The last couple of months, I've been like over 20 books. I did read some long books, so that's definitely a part of it. Like I said, I think the slump was not helping. So moods, first off, we've got top moods as emotional, adventurous, mysterious, and dark, with a little sprinkle of tense, reflective, hopeful, funny, and lighthearted. Pace, we've got 5% fast, 5% slow, and 89%, that doesn't even work out, 90% medium. Page number, I have 5% 300 or under, 63% 300 to 499, and 32% 500 plus. So that's quite a bit of 500 plus books. 100% fiction. I don't think anyone is surprised there. I wanted to get into nonfiction. I still do, but I think that's obviously, apparently, going to be a second half of the year sort of thing. Genres, we've got 9 romance, 8 fantasy, 6 contemporary, 4 each of young adult and historical, 2 each of dystopian and literary, and 1 each of LGBTQIA+, magical realism, and thriller, which honestly off the top of my head, I'm not sure what. Oh, it's probably A Sea of Unspoken Things. That's the thriller, which, yes, is not particularly thrilling, but we'll get into that. And then my star ratings. This is where I think my slump is very evident because I read 19 books. I had 0 5-star reads. 0. I am floored by that. I feel like I can be sometimes a harsh rater, but I always have 5 stars. So I don't know where that went. The good news is I don't have anything lower than a 3. So all of my books were 4 and 3-star reads this month. 15 4 stars and 4 3 stars. I mean, on the whole, my average rating was 3.79, which is not bad, but it's crazy that I had no 5 stars. There were a lot of books in here that I really liked though, so I'm excited to get into those. Let's dive into it. I also have to be so candid with you. I feel like as part of my slump, I am doing just a terrible job of actually like remembering what books are about because I feel like I haven't been super invested in anything that I've been reading. So there are a few in here that I definitely like remember, liked, can tell you about, but there are a couple in here that you're going to be like, girl, why are you even talking about this? You have nothing to say. To which I would say, correct. Anyway, let's get into it. These are, I don't think, going to be in any particular order. This is just how I had them stacked. First up, North Country by K.A. Tucker. I was so excited to get this one. I was sent it from Valentine PR. I didn't even request it. It just showed up in the mail and I almost cried because I'm so excited. I love K.A. Tucker. If you've been around, you know The Simple Wild is my all-time favorite romance. I also love her Romantasy series, and I think she writes everything so well. So North Country was kind of giving like a K.A. Tucker, Elsie Silver vibe, and I think that's exactly what it ended up doing. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. This is kind of a second chance romance. The man, Logan? Yes. Their names are Emery and Logan, and so I feel like both of those could go either way. Logan has been in prison for many years, and finally he comes back, and Emery's like, he's still so hot and I love him, but now she has a daughter. There's a lot of drama. Small town, Canadian town, very Western, super cute, reminded me a lot of Indigo Ridge. I really enjoyed this one. So highly recommend if you are into cowboy romance. It's got a bit of like a suspense element, but not a ton. It's not scary. So had a really good time. This cover is one of my favorites of the year. It's so pretty. Next up, we've got one of my duds, which is so sad. This is City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. I bought this when I was on my honeymoon in Edinburgh. It makes me so sad that I didn't absolutely love it. The problem is that I felt like this was just kind of boring. Like, the concept was interesting. I would compare it probably most closely to like an Our Infinite Fates situation without like the reincarnation. They're not really super similar, but like in my head, that's what it reminded me of. There's a lot of like betrayal, like there's a lot of things that like should have made this a really exciting edge of my seat kind of book, but it just was not. And it also had an element of magical realism, which, as we all know, I hate. That probably brought it down a little bit for me as well. It also just felt like it took me forever to read. Anytime I get stuck behind a book like that, I feel like it automatically like lowers the star value for me. So I gave this one 3 stars. Wasn't terrible, wasn't awesome. I'm having a hard time because like I don't want to list this on Pango because I did get it on my honeymoon, but I don't need it because I'm not going to read it again. It's a Waterstones exclusive edition, so I feel like someone else might really like it. Like, look at these spreads. They're so pretty. And I still have obviously like the stickers on it. So we'll see about that one. Next, we've got The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. This was one of my favorite books of the month. I honestly don't know. I feel like if I had read this one when I wasn't feeling a little bit slumpy, it would have been a 5-star for me because I did really enjoy this book. It's about the 3 women that work at Bletchley Park, which were code breakers during World War II. It was really good. If you like historical fiction and you haven't picked this one up, you should. I feel like people were telling me to read it for forever, and like, I am the top of the bell curve. If a lot of people like the book, probably I will also like it. Listen to the people telling you to read this if you have people telling you to read this. It's got a little bit of everything in it. I feel like we had a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of suspense, obviously the historical fiction element, some romance. We've even got a bit of like royal intrigue in here, so this one's very good. Next up, we've got Wild Side by Elsie Silver. I have not picked up an Elsie Silver book in over a year, and so this kind of felt like coming home in a way because I just feel so cozy and happy when I'm reading an Elsie Silver book. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It's between Reese and Tabitha, who I initially wasn't quite understanding where their connection came in to the rest of the Rose Hill universe, but then I figured it out later with the whole like bowling club connection. Yeah, I wouldn't say that this is like one of my favorite Elsie Silvers, but I did like it quite a bit. This is the 3rd in the Rose Hill series. First is, they're way over there, Wild Love, and then Wild Eyes, I believe. And I think I've got Wild Card right back here, so that's still on the TBR, but I'm almost done with the series. Next up, we've got Crazy Rich Asians. This was also a 4-star and one of my favorite reads of the month, and I just thought it was so good. I haven't seen the movie, which everybody tells me is ridiculous, but I didn't want to see the movie before I read the book. Now I've read the book, really liked the book, and everyone says the movie's even better. So I'm very excited to go into it. I know there's a couple of sequels to this. I honestly don't feel the need to read the sequels. I feel like this is a very complete story in and of itself, and I really liked it. It sort of gives, is it The Perfect Couple? I think it is The Perfect Couple. The Alan Hildebrand book that was recently made into a movie where like one girl is joining this like super rich family, potentially getting engaged, and her boyfriend, his name's Nick, is pretty clueless and doesn't really prepare her for the fact that her family is as rich as they are, and so they're of course judging her, think she's a gold digger, even though she has absolutely zero idea that they were in fact this rich. So mostly takes place in Singapore, but they kind of are all over the world because Rachel, our FMC, and Nick were, I believe they live in New York and they were going to school in New York at one point. And of course they're rich, so they get to travel all around the world. I really enjoyed this one. Highly recommend if you haven't read it. Probably if you've watched the movie. I haven't watched the movie, so I don't know what the experience would be reading the book before or after, but I'm excited to watch the movie. This is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwong. Next up, we've got probably my favorite read of the month, which is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. I am such an Olivia Blake stan. I feel like she just crafts books in such an incredibly intricate way, and all of her stories are trying to like do something rather than just tell the story. I love this one. I gave it 4 stars, but honestly, the longer I think about it, this might be the 1 5-star read I have this month. I think this just depicts like mental illness really well and how that interplays in relationships. You have 2 incredibly endearing characters. Olivia Blake's character work is amazing because you kind of hate both of the MCs at one point or another, but you just feel for them so much because they're really just going through it. And I think Olivia Blake gets into her characters' heads so much better than almost every other author that I've read. I really enjoyed this one. It's just a contemporary romance, but it feels like a book with soul, and I love that about it. So yeah, I would say this is my favorite read of the month. Next, we've got When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. I was very disappointed by this book. Part of it is because I'll Give You the Sun, her other book, she may have written more besides that, but those are the two that I've read. I'll Give You the Sun was in my top 10 the year that I first read it, and I've been saving this one because I really thought that like this would also hit. I pulled it out when I was like not getting any 5 stars this month because I was like, surely this will be a 5-star. Viewers, it was not. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It's definitely not the worst book I've ever read, but the cover is the best part of it. I love this cover. I just overall think that I was disappointed. It felt like it was trying to do too much. We were leaping through different timelines and POVs pretty much the entire book. Part of it was probably that I was listening on audio, so I was getting a little bit lost. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. So that was a bummer, but this is When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. Next up, I did really enjoy this one as well. This is Watch Me by Terry Maffei. This is the first book in the spin-off sequel series of the whole Shatter Me series. I am a big Shatter Me fan. A lot of people say like, oh, if you missed the boat on Shatter Me, like when it was first coming out in like the 2012, 13, 14 era, that you can't really go back and feel the same way. I strongly disagree. I read all of the books the first time in 2023 and absolutely fell in love with them. So this was so fun. It was like returning to the world of Shatter Me. This MC is James. He is now grown up. I think it's like 10 years later. FMC is not really clear how she's gonna fit in with everything yet, but her name is Rosabelle. You can tell that it's gonna be a delicious slow burn. One thing Terry Maffei does really well is not give everything away too soon. And so it's not so much that we have like a bait and switch, I don't think. It's more that we're gonna take a few books for them to actually get together, which I appreciate. So this is Watch Me by Terry Maffei. I don't have the second one yet. It is on my list to get, but yeah. Next, this is maybe one of the reasons I didn't read as many books as I normally do, because this is the longest book I have ever read, and that is A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. I am a huge Game of Thrones show fan, and I read the first 3 books before I ever watched any part of the show. Then I never continued. So I have now read A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons in addition to the first 3 books, and this one, she is chunky. It is over 1,000 pages. I really like this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I feel like we have really diverted from the show, which I probably would have liked the book better if I didn't have the show as background going into this, and a lot of the changes that they made in the show I actually really appreciated. So again, this is not a knock. Obviously, George R.R. Martin wrote the source material, so I can't really be that mad about it, but my boy, Jon Snow, is going through it in this book. And so obviously that was very depressing. He's dead where we're at. I don't feel like that's a spoiler if you've watched the show, but I don't know if he's coming back in book world. That's A Dance with Dragons. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did feel like it was longer than it needed to be, so I'm kind of bored in parts. This is like a 50-hour audiobook. It would be really hard for a book of that length, I feel like, to make it to 5 stars unless it was really something incredible. And not that this isn't incredible. In comparison to the other books in the series, this is far from my favorite. So that is A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. And I can't believe that I'm now finished with the GOT universe as it exists. Or, well, I shouldn't say that. The A Song of Ice and Fire universe as it exists. Next up, we've got, unfortunately, another 3-star book. This is Babylonia by Costanza Casati. I think Costanza Casati is an incredible writer. She is amazing. However, I was so bored during this book. I feel like there was so many elements that should have really been interesting to me. I love the historical fiction element. This is like Babylon versus Assyria, so there's like a war. There's a love triangle between brothers, and one of them's a king and the other one's her husband. Like, there's a lot of things that I should have really enjoyed, and it just fell flat for me. And again, this is one that I did mostly on audio, and so maybe if I hadn't been, I would like it better. But I think it's the slump, man. Like, it is getting me. So it's Babylonia by Costanza Casati. All right, next up, we've got a twofer. This is Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez, and I have this, which is the Owl Crate edition, and I have this, which is the Fairy Loot edition. I will probably end up putting one of these on Pango, but I haven't decided which yet, because I really like the blue and white like color scheme of this one, but I also really love this Fairy Loot edition, so maybe I'll just keep both and see how I feel later. This book really succeeds in like vibes. I loved the vibes of Graceless Heart. It is set in 16th century Florence, Italy, and there's some fae activity, there's some magic, there's a lot going on, really, is what it is. the Medicis are trying to take over. Our main girl, Ravna, is a sculptress, and she's essentially trying to enter this competition so that she can ask a boon from the crown, and the boon is going to be that her brother, who's part of this insurrectionist-ish group, is basically pardoned. And she's working with a member of the royal family named Saturnino, which don't get me started on how stupid that name is. I thought it was Stevnino when I was listening on audio, and then actually saw it written out when I was partially reading the book. Anyway, so Saturnino's family is all like magical fae. They kind of run Florence, and she is supposed to be going undercover to get him information about the Pope, and she's also supposed to be going undercover for the Pope to get information about Saturnino's family. So it's very like intrigue based, I would say, and the vibes were truly immaculate in this book. I think Isabel Ibanez is an incredible writer. This is the first book I've read by her. I also have What the River Knows, Where the Library Hides, I think, is the like Egyptian mythology based one. Haven't read those yet, but I do own them and I'm excited to read them. But I do think at points there was like nothing happening in this book, and it kind of made it hard to feel invested, because while the vibes were all there, the writing was great, I didn't really care about the characters, and I felt like they were making some like stupid decisions. But it was an enjoyable read. So I did really enjoy it. That's Graceless Heart. Next up, we've got Broken Dove by Dani Francis. I was so excited for this one. I really enjoyed Silver Elite. I know people have their opinions about it. I thought it was a great time. I actually liked this one a lot better than I think a lot of people liked it. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I am a big love triangle girl, as you guys all know, and so a love triangle being present is always going to like be a good time for me. That being said, I did feel like a lot of this book was filler. Like I feel like we could have made this trilogy into a duology and just put most of the stuff that was in here into the last book. And there was a number of things that were very easily callable in this book if you are familiar with like the dystopian romantasy genre. So there wasn't a lot of like crazy twists or anything, but I did think the like world building was excellent in this. We really expanded on like what the rebellion that the mods are kind of heading is doing. And so I did like this book a lot. I didn't like it as much as Silver Elite though. You know, I'm just excited to see what the closing chapter on the series is going to be. That's Broken Dove by Dani Francis. Next up, we've got another 4-star. This is And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. This is one of the ones that I read and I really enjoyed at the time. Couldn't tell you a single thing about it. I do think, it's like a quirky news reporter is gonna like team up with the guy that does the weather on the radio show, I think. Jackson and Delilah. Delilah is like a very lighthearted, optimistic FMC who kind of feels like she has to work so hard to be taken seriously. And so there's a lot of good commentary here on like, just because you're like girly and sweet and feminine, spontaneous, love to have fun, all of these things doesn't mean that you're not a serious person with serious ambitions. And so I really liked that commentary on it. Jackson was kind of meh for me as an MC, honestly. I still had a good time with this. I love the cover. That was And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. Next up, Ye Between the Lines by Katie Naiman. This is one of my favorite, I think, academic rival romances that I've ever read. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like in my head it's blending with One Star Romance a little bit, but these two are in the same master's program. Yes, this is sort of a second chance romance because they knew each other, I think, in high school, and then they join this master's program for poetry, and so of course they're like running into each other all the time and kind of rekindling things. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like you can't do real enemies to lovers in contemporary romances, honestly. Like very rarely have I had one done well, but rivals to lovers is also a great trope, and that's what this one is, and I really enjoyed it. I think this is one of the few that kind of gave you a really realistic look at what like higher academia is like and what dating someone who's in your class is like as well. Ask me how I know. My husband and I met in law school because we were in the same cohort. I really enjoyed this one. It's really cute. I think these characters maybe like annoy some people because one of my best friends, Maddie, read this not long after I did and rated it 4 stars, and she gave it 1 star, one of the lowest ratings she's ever given. Well, the lowest rating she's ever given. I don't think she's ever rated a book 1 star before. So obviously it's not for everyone. I really enjoyed this one. That's You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman. Next up, we've got Stolen Midnights by Catherine Quinn. I looked it up because I was interested. This is not a different name for Kate Quinn, the historical fiction author who wrote The Rose Code. This is a completely different person. And I think I have, you probably can't see it. They're down here. She also has this duology, which I own but haven't read yet. And the covers are so pretty. pretty. Same person as these, not same person as the Rose Code. I feel like I was reading a lot of like first books in Romantasy series, and so this is kind of like blending for me a little bit. If you liked The Dagger and the Flame, I think you will love Stolen Midnights. It kind of gave the same vibes. Basically, on their 18th birthdays, if you are favored by the gods, you're supposed to like receive this like magical gift or like talent from the fates on your 18th birthday. And so that's what our girl Ren is expecting. Pretty amazing gift from the fates on her 18th birthday. But this boy Damien steals it while it's en route to her. And if someone steals your gift, like that just sucks for you. And then she kind of runs into him in a different way, and he essentially, so he steals her gift, which is an enchanted locket. Inside the locket, it's a picture of him, and so he's like, what the heck is going on here? So he's trying to get closer to her to like figure out what this even is about, and she thinks that he's helping her to figure out who stole the locket without knowing that like it's him. A very interesting book, very much like we're at odds, but maybe we aren't, but we don't trust each other, but we have to kind of situation. So I really enjoyed it. It did leave off on a cliffhanger, so I'm excited for the next book. I had a good time. I would recommend this one. 4 stars. That's Stolen Midnights by Catherine Quinn. Next up, this is the first book I finished this month, and I talked extensively about the predecessors of this book in my last wrap-up video. This is Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. This is the last book in the, is it Secrets of the Shanghai, maybe? Anyway, this is set 10 years after These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends duology. This is the sequel directly to Foul Lady Fortune, and it's technically, Foul Lady Fortune kind of starts as a retelling of As You Like It, the Shakespeare play, and so this one has all the same characters from that. Our main character is Rosalind, and this one is so great because it brings the whole gang back together. You get all of These Violent Ends characters that reappear in this for like a final showdown type situation, and it was so fun. I loved it so much. I really feel like I've been sitting on Chloe Gong. Like this has been on my shelf for so long, and I finally just read all of them, and it felt amazing. I love them. Before you read this book, super important that you read the 2 novellas that are contained in Last Violent Call. If you don't, I mean, you'll be fine. Like, you're not gonna die. But they do really influence what is going on in this book. So I'd recommend that. There's also a free novella that maybe is taken down by now from the Simon Teen website. If you don't read that, that's really not the end of the world. I don't really feel like it added much. Read Last Violent Call. You can skip the novella, which is The Priest and the Shepherd, I believe is what it's called. That is Foul Heart Huntsman. Really enjoyed. 4 stars. Next, we've got my single thriller, which is not even a real thriller. This is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really feel like this is basically just like a slightly worse version of Spells for Forgetting, but I love Spells for Forgetting, so I still enjoyed this one. It's a really short, quick, easy read. I don't even think it's 300 pages. Yeah, under 300 pages. Very easy read. It's very atmospheric. It's set in Northern California. This girl's brother passed away, I think 5, maybe more years ago, and so her and his best friend at the time are kind of trying to piece together what happened. Oh no, he didn't pass away 5 years ago. She left the town that they were in like 5-10 years ago, I think. And then when she gets the call that he has passed, she shows back up in the small town to kind of wrap his affairs up. So murder mystery vibe-ish. I don't remember a ton about it. I don't think it made a huge impact on me. I liked both of Adrienne Young's other books better. I still enjoyed this one. Next up, I really enjoyed this one. This was The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen O. Clover. This is another one that I feel like I liked that a lot of people like didn't. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was super, super cute. Just like straight contemporary romance. Loved it. Our MCs are Louisa and Henry. So Louisa asks Henry when she breaks up with her boyfriend and he moves out if she can stay in the property. He's her landlord. If she maybe doesn't need to pay rent and can transform it into essentially like a bed and breakfast so that she can make money that way by like running it in exchange for free room and board. He's like weird about that, but okay. And then of course they fall in love because it's a romance, and it's really good. And I think I really like grief books, but this is kind of dealing with like grief in the form of like breaking up with someone and mourning the future that you thought you were going to have with them. I really enjoyed it. I would read this one again. Highly recommend if you are a romance girly. Last but not least, very much not least, because this is a chunky freaking book, I ended up giving this one 3 stars, which I know will make some people mad. This is Alchemized by Senlin Yu. This is the Fairy Loot version. I will be putting this up on Pango, so if you want it, you know where to find it. I read Manacled a couple of years ago. Loved Manacled. I don't think that the story that Senlin Yu put together for the purposes of publishing it traditionally and removing all of the Harry Potter IP worked for her. I feel like this does not stand on its own. The world building was incredibly confusing. I was not sure why I should care about half of these people because there was no background or context the same way that we had in Manacled with 7 books plus of the world of Harry Potter built. I thought this one was disappointing, to be honest. It was super depressing. Manacled is also super depressing, but you like care, whereas I was kind of just feeling bad for these characters all all the time without really feeling that like deep gut-wrenching sick feeling in your stomach when it's someone that you love so much and these bad things are happening to them. Instead, I was just kind of like, wow, this really sucks for Helena, but like, darn. Shoot. Yeah, so this was not my cup of tea. I probably won't be reading again. I think Manacled is better than this, which is unfortunate. She didn't have like any of the support that she had with Manacled that she did with publishing this book, and I feel like it was a flop for me. Sorry, I won't go into it too much, but that was Alchemized. If you want the Fairy Loot version of it, you should check my Pengo out. And I can't possibly pick up all of these books, but that is every book that I read in June. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an absolutely great day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.